So one of the things that I love most about this podcast is getting to sit down with people whose stories have inspired me and lots of different people in the industry. And today's guest is exactly that. Yvonne Eskenzi is the co-founder of Eskenzi PR, a global cybersecurity agency that is celebrating its 30th anniversary. Over 3 decades, she has built one of the most respected names in tech PR, working with companies at every stage, from startups to IPOs to acquisitions, and picking up millions of awards along the way, including the Queen's Award. She's also the co-founder of the Zensory, an app designed to bridge productivity and well-being. And when she's not running a global business, you will often find her at the pottery wheel. But crucially, Yvonne didn't start in tech. Her career began at News International before she found her way into PR and eventually into building an agency with an international reach. In fact, it was over lunch with Yvonne that I first seriously thought about launching this very podcast. She gave me some very sage advice about enjoying the journey as she told me hers, and I realized it was exactly the type of story that I wanted to be telling. So I can't think of a better guest to have on Accidentally Brilliant. Yvonne, welcome.
Thank you so much. That's a lovely introduction, Josh. Thank you very much.
So, Yvonne, you didn't start out in cybersecurity PR. What drew you into the industry?
Okay, so what draws anybody into cybersecurity? I don't think you wake up one day and kind of go, I want to, or as a baby or as a teenager or when you go to university. Well, actually, they're far more now. But, 30 years ago, no one knew what cybersecurity was. I didn't. And it was just, oh God, you don't go, oh, I need to get into cybersecurity. I mean, you don't, do you? So what drew me into it was fate. And that's the way all our paths go, surely. That's what always happens. It's the people you meet along the way, isn't it? It's those chance discussions. It's those chance, like you said, we had lunch with, together, and we had, we talked about our journeys and stuff like that. My journey actually started. I was at university. I wanted to do social work. Didn't work out. I was too young, and I was told, come back when you're 25, and I was 21, and it was like, okay. By the time I was 25, I was ready, doing stuff. Already had a job, So I was helping already then. I was working for Young Enterprise, and I went to work for the London Enterprise. I was helping companies set up in London and young entrepreneurs set up and do all the PR stuff around that. And I worked at News International, I headed up their, they had exhibitions, they headed up a kind of exhibitions area that they wanted to promote. I love doing exhibitions. And I love newspapers. So I got myself a job there. They didn't have a job. I wrote to all the different heads of all the different newspapers at the time and said, if you've got a job, this is what I want to do. I think I could promote exhibitions. I think I love doing newspaper. I did a really great CV. And the MD of News International got my letter, sent it to all the heads of all the different newspapers. I had many weird and wonderful interviews with some really quite horrible. You can imagine what those managing editors were like. In those days, News of the World and the Sun, I mean, lechy, horrible, disgusting, things that wouldn't happen today happened in interviews then. And then I kind of, the whole thing just evolved, The girl that I was working with at News International got a job. It always happens like this. It's really weird. You asked me how I got into it. I was running these exhibitions. And then I said to Neil, my husband at the time, I hit 30 and I went, let's just take a year off. Let's go traveling. Let's just never, I've always been like that. Let's not take our jobs too seriously. Let's not, let's just enjoy life. Life is too short. That's always been my philosophy. And so I said, let's take a year off. And he was an accountant, hated doing accountancy and still working for a design agency. Took a year off. And then I came back and then I said, that's it. I'm never going to work for anybody else again. Set up on my own and waited for my first. We don't really wait for your first gig, do you? When you set up your own, you've got to really, you've really got to hustle, haven't you? You've got to hit run. You've got to contact everybody. You can't be proud. You really got to pick up that phone, and you've got to just ring everybody you've ever known. And fun enough, I started on the 1st of September 1995. which of course, that's why it's going to be my 30th anniversary on Monday. So this is kind of apt because it's a very important time in my life, 30 years, bloody long time. And I started on the 1st September and I sat by the phone and I thought, what the hell am I going to do? And I just rang everybody up. And by about, I think it was about December, I still didn't have any work. And I remember sitting there crying my eyes out. And Neil was working as an accountant. And I said, I'm going to have to go and get a job. And I phoned up one of those recruitment agencies. And I knew I wanted to have about 250 quid a day. That's all I wanted, as doing what I was good at doing. And then what happened was that the phoned up recruitment agent said, we can offer you £6.50 an hour doing a bit of typing. And I just sat there and I sobbed and I thought, that's not what I want to do. And then the next day, the phone rings, unbelievably, and it was a girl I used to work with at News International. Said, we've got a terrible problem. The PR agency, who were Lewis at the time, had just set up. They've been doing the PR, and she said they have no idea how to promote shows. You know how to run and launch shows. Will you come and help us with this one called Info Security? It's an IT security show. I said, what the hell is that? And she sat down. We had dinner together, and she drew me these little graphs of a virus and said, this is what antivirus software is all about. This is what everyone's talking about. And that was my first gig. I worked doing that big show. And then after doing that big show, a lot of people could see the coverage I was getting for Info Security. And I ended up then doing, for my sins, cybersecurity, or then it was called information secure, IT security.
I love this story. This is, like I said, so I've had this idea bubbling around. So I know you, I've known you for a long time, but I know you as my tech expert, my cybersecurity, all things, and obviously you do, but it threw a loop that this was not, you didn't do cybersecurity at uni, you weren't, naturally coding at how, I can't believe that was not the beginning. It's so incredible.
I still don't know anything about cyber. I mean, of course I know about cyber, but I tell you what I do know. I know how to sell a story. And I know that's what you have to do. So you and I know how very, very quickly, we've got a minute to sell a story to a journalist. And I say it to all the startups that I mentor now. You have a minute to basically get your story across. If you look at the Dragon's Den, if you haven't captivated people in a job interview or anything that you do in that first minute, you're out. So we only have 1 minute. So we actually, to be honest, we don't have to go into the big, deep depths of it. We don't have to understand it. If we can't make it sound interesting, and if we can't turn that geek speak into everyday speak, then we've had it. And I think that's the skill taken from a job like a News International. That's what we have to do. And equally, if you read the Sunday Times, you read the Sun, if they're not managing to get it across in the first few minutes, the first few seconds, even for that first title, you've had it. And I think that's still the essence. And I still think even more to this day, the most important thing are those 9 words that you put in a header of an email. So I think our jobs have become even more succinct. If I can't sell what I'm selling in those first initial 9 words in an email header, you've had it. So in actual fact, nothing has changed. It's still the same old, to be honest, but it's just getting harder because we're more restricted and we have less space, actually.
But you know how to do it. And it's fascinating because you're, starting in where you were in that environment, everything focused in on headlines. So in a way, you're almost a step ahead. Those front pages are the things that are going to sell, and it's gone back to those amount of words. Yvonne, 30 years of Eskenzi, extraordinary. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What do you remember about those first days of starting it up?
I suppose hope, excitement, adventure, maybe a bit of drama, the thrill of winning new clients, and then the letdown of having to do all that hard work. It's I get so excited, as we all do, when we manage to get a new client. It's amazing, and then you've got to work so hard, and then you're only as good as your last month.
Yeah.
That's how I always say, and I always say this to my staff, we're only as good as our last month. So we have to continue to be as good, if not better, month after month after month, because there is this impression that a lot of PR agencies kind of go off the edge. That it's a bit like having a relationship. You're amazing at the beginning, when you've got a new lover, and it's amazing, and then it's fantastic, and you give it this all, and then it sort of dwindles off. And we're very lucky. On average, our clients have stayed with us for an average of 7 years. So, and then they often, or less sometimes, because a new CMO comes on board, and they bring in their whole new teams, and you can be the best you've ever been, and unfortunately, you lose the account. Doesn't matter, it's a horrible feeling, isn't it, Josh? Because you give it your life, you give it your soul, and I think as soon as you stop giving it your life and your soul, as you say, 30 years, and I still don't know why I still get that same. So you say, what was it like at the beginning? What did I really enjoy at the beginning? Is the same as what I enjoy now. There's never been, and I mean it, one day that I've got up and I haven't been excited, because I've not known what the day in store has, and I love that that sense of adventure and thrill and excitement that something amazing could happen. Like yesterday, one of my staff, Lara, got blacked up, one of our clients, into the BBC. And Lara very well, Josh, you work with her. But and of course you're on the same, but you know how exciting it is when you get something into a national, in your broadcast. If that thrill stops happening, then we need to hang up our hat and go somewhere else, because it's so exciting. And that's what gets me up in the morning still.
I think it's coverage absolutely is a driver, but the thing that personally gets me, and I think it's the same for the same DNA that's in you guys, is you have your strategy on paper. This is what the plan is, but almost in your mind you have this sort of holistic overarching strategy of where you're trying to take that client on that journey, and you're looking out for the markers that are doing it. And it might be, a piece of national coverage. It might be that you're noticing a shift in the way that media are talking about an organization, where someone is becoming a voice of authority. And that for me is the thing that when you can see the impact that you're having is the most exciting thing. That is
100%.
You could bottle it.
I know. I'll never forget. I had a conversation. It must have been maybe 18 years ago, with a guy called Udi McCarty, who was the owner of a company called CyberArk. And incidentally, they got sold for something ridiculous. Don't quote me. Just out of the top of my head, it was like 84 billion, about a month ago.
Not bad.
It's not bad. I mean, incredible. Like the most expensive cybersecurity company that's ever been sold. And they were a client of mine for about 7 years. And I remember Udi at the very beginning would look at the press coverage that we would get. He would watch then how many people hit his website and see the impressions and what was actually happening. And he was the owner and the founder of the company, but for him, it was so exciting to watch what was happening, the actual impact of what you were doing. And I kind of thought, I'm sure you've got better things to do with the time, but he knew the importance of PR then, and they were setting up and they were getting going. And I don't think they ever lost that. And I think you're absolutely right. It's for us at Eskenzi, we do a lot of analysing. We look at share of voice a lot, as you know, and we watch the share of voice. So share of voice means that this is where you are when you first start working, and where you are in the press. And then we watch it slowly but surely, and watch the impact of over the months where you start to grow and outreach your competitors. And that's really powerful. And I think it's really powerful when the sales guys go, you wouldn't believe the impact we're actually having, because now we're going out, we're doing sales, and when we're hitting the phones, people are going, oh yeah, I saw you yesterday in the Standard, or I saw you in the Daily Mail, or I saw you in the I don't know, SC Magazine, wherever it may be, or the Wall Street Journal. We were in the Wall Street Journal with a client of ours 2 weeks ago, which was a mega. Those, and the FT, I think, twice last. Those sorts of things are still very, really, and actually now with the power of AI is even more important. I think now that it's your share of voice, original coverage that you're getting, that you and I are getting for our clients, that is now, it's not just getting up the search engines that, once were so powerful. It's now from an AI perspective, an AI trawling it and then actually recommending, you're looking for a good PR agency in London. Well, thank God Eskenzi pops up as the top one in cybersecurity. That's because there's so much out there and we're doing so much, I suppose, so from an AI, so we've now all got to be really, really clever from an AI perspective now. And that's also what's so exciting, I think, over the 30 years development. Things have changed so much. And now AI is about to and I could actually curl up and go underneath my table and go, I can't cope with this. And Neil, who's my co-founder, my husband, is always into tech, always looking at stuff from a new perspective. And I think we've got to be faster and brighter and smarter than anybody else, otherwise we won't succeed. So this is yet again a new revolution.
What do you think about AI in relation to PR? What's your view at the moment? Obviously, it's going to keep changing, but what do you think right now?
I think it'll have a massive impact, but I think it'll be the beautiful thing about AI is that you can start with a blank piece of paper, and I know how people are using it. They're using it as a kind of as a thing to get your brain started. That's great. You know what I mean? Because sometimes having a blank piece of paper is quite hard. But AI can actually kind of help you in your ideation process. So I think it's really useful for that, and I think it's I think it's brilliant from that perspective. But I think, and I've been thinking this over the last couple of weeks, now that I've looked at a lot of studies, I think that AI is going to be really good for PR, as I said, because it means that the more coverage we get for our clients, the more that AI are going to scroll and find and recommend, because you want AI to be recommending you as it's no good if you're on page 2 of Google. But now when you do a search, almost Google's irrelevant because an AI engine comes up and tells you what you want to hear before you've even got to Google. So I think I was worried, actually, that maybe everybody was going to do their own press releases, but they can't do that. So they don't have the contacts we have, right? It's a people's business still. When we pick up the phone or we write to or email a journalist or journalists, they're coming because of us. They know the reputation we have. When they know that there is a pedigree there, and there's already that vetting's already been done, and it's a trust, and you can't trust AI. So our industry and the whole of cybersecurity is built on trust, actually, by the way. So I still think our trust of being able to pick up the phone or write an email because it's come from an Eskenzi person means everything. So I think AI is going to be phenomenal. It's going to help make things. I personally don't think it's going to help with creativity. And I think the reason why we've succeeded so well in the last 30 years is that we're a hugely creative agency. And that's always been the first and foremost. As I said, I'm not a technologist. I'm not a techie person. I am a creative person. And that's the most important thing in my life. And I instill that on everybody that works for me.
Yeah. I when this first appeared, I read lots of pointers in terms of the challenges of AI, and obviously there are going to be big shifts. But I also look at it and think, is this a tool that we're going to use in the same way that I imagine the introduction of things like email was revolutionary for PR when that first came around, and the shift that had, and everything was urgent and happening right now, as opposed to long lunches and meetings, and I wonder I joined just at the wrong time, but I wonder, is it a tool, or is it a tool that is going to kind of destroy the industry? And I'm starting to move to the point where actually I believe it's a tool that is going to, exactly as you say, it's going to help you when the page is blank. It's not going to do it for you.
It can't do it for you because it can. It can do it for those people that don't want to pay for a PR agency and just want to do. But what do you think? Think this through, Josh. What's going to happen? Someone's going to write a press release, or someone's going to write an article, or someone's going to write a pitch, and they're going to try and send it to where? To this. They get hold of a list of journalists. They're going to send it out. And they're not going to know how to write a brilliant headline necessarily, which is what we can craft and do. But then our journalists are getting 300 pictures a day. Are they going to look at just another pitch that's been written by AI, or are they going to look at a pitch from Josh Wheeler or Yvonne Eskenzi, or the Eskenzi PR team? You tell me that. I don't open emails from people I don't really know. So are journalists going to open emails from people they don't know? No, I don't think so. So I still think this is very much I still think it's very much people business. It always has been. So why is that going to change?
Yeah. Just because there's a new tool. I completely agree. What was there a point in your career where it felt like things were starting to just click into place, where you realized that you were building something bigger than you expected?
Such a funny question. It's not a funny question. It's just like an interesting question. You know what? You never actually ever stop. And I said this to you actually, Josh. Do you remember what lunchtime we had? I said, stop and think and breathe and pat yourself on the back. Please do that. I really want you to do it because you've done so well, Josh, in such a short amount of time. I just think it's marvelous. I really do, because it's so hard to set up your own business and succeed in today's market. So I don't know. I've always had this thing where I've worked and then I've lost. If I lose a client, I then panic and go, "Oh my God, am I ever going to have another client again?" And then and it's this weird thing, isn't it? It goes up and up and up, and then you have these little downs, and then it goes up, and then you have these downs, and then I think I have learned over the years, if there's any wisdom I can impart, is that things always do work out, and that do not worry about things. It's just a waste of energy, a waste of time. It's very easy for me to say that because I do worry and I always catastrophize, and I always try and stop. Don't do that. Don't catastrophize. It's not going to happen. And actually, now I look back over this, I can actually say, hey, it doesn't happen. It hasn't happened. It's stupid. And even if anything terrible would have happened, it would have worked its way out. So, and as Neil always said, no one's died. It's like all these events and stuff. No one's died. It's not so bad. If I lose a client, I lose a client. I'll win another one. It'll drive me to win another one. So when did I know that things were, how did I know things were great? When I suppose I had enough money in the bank. And then I knew that I kind of could go, okay, actually, it doesn't matter. And I think when COVID happened, I could kind of say to everybody, hey guys, don't worry. There's enough in this bank to not worry about it. We've never borrowed any money from anybody else. We've got a few years to pay you guys. And that is when I stopped worrying, when I knew I had enough money in the bank. We haven't frittered our money away. We've been really careful about it. And we've got, a long perimetry effectively to go on. If anything does happen, we can see it through for a few years. So I think that made me feel, and it always has done, I've got enough there. I don't need to worry. And I suppose you could say, how much is enough? You could.
I wasn't going to ask you for a financial number, but it's so true. So when we had this lunch, and when you said that to me, I went away and I was thinking, it is true. You obviously go through peaks and troughs, and by that financially, but also in terms of, having great work, having rubbish work at the same time, and you go through these periods where you're trying to look for the iron rod. And actually, what I came away from that, thinking back on the train home, was that iron rod for us has actually been exactly that point. It's always worked out.
Yeah.
On the bounce, it's always worked out. There's no point being in the doldrums when things feel tough. And as you say, it's easy, to say, don't worry about it. Yeah. But actually one of the skills that you really have to learn is to be able to have that get up and go when things feel tough, and also not beat yourself up at the same time. And I don't think we talk about that within our sector as much as we should. I think there's a lot of focus on, we've just won this, we're doing this, this is amazing. And what I really want, partly from this, is from people to say, that was hard. That was really hard.
But it is hard. I mean, I'm the first one. It hasn't been hard. I don't think it has for me. I think it hasn't been hard for me because I've not pressurized myself. Um, do you know that I've always known I've got enough, and enough has been good enough. I now have got more than enough, and more than enough is more than good enough. Does it stop me wanting to work? Does it stop me wanting to? Does it want me to? Should I go and retire and sit in my lovely new house that I've got in Spain? Yeah, I should. But what the hell would I do? I would be bored stupid. And I love mentoring new people. I love new people coming to the industry. I love the excitement, like I said, of getting press cover. We just take on a new guy called Cyprian this week. I'm going to watch him flourish and grow, and which is what happens at Eskenzi. These guys come in, they're graduates from uni, or they're young guys, they've never worked in PR, they come and work for us, they blossom, they go on and do the most amazing jobs. They get headhunted, which pisses me off, but that's what happens, and good for them. No, but it's great, you know what I mean? It's lovely. There's someone going to work for clients of ours, eventually, not within the first year, because that's not allowed, but, they have a year's clause, they have to kind of know, and, but I don't know what feeds us, what motivates us. I should just go and do my pottery every day. Drive me mad. I love doing my pottery, but it would be all the stuff I do. I do so much stuff. I should be doing interior design. I love doing that as well. There's so much I'd love to do, and courses, so much I could do. But I still love this, and I still love meeting the people and going out there and doing the awards we do, and so much. There's so much more to do.
Awards is something I wanted to pick your brains on as well. So we've obviously talked about awards.
Yeah.
Your view on awards, I think, is quite unique and interesting. Tell us your view.
I think they're all crap. I think awards are very dodgy. I've always have. I hate the fact that this pay to play is just terrible. So I felt very strongly about awards forever, which is why we started to do our own awards, which were people could come and enter for free, win for free, attend for free, and then I would just get people to pay for those awards, just a few sponsors. We never make any money out of them, but by God are they well worth doing, because these are people that worked in the industry forever or for a short amount of time, whatever it may be. They've given so much to our industry. They have done so much good stuff, but they're never recognised. So we've always wanted to do awards for the people, by the people, for the people. And but these other ones where it's all big pat on the back and you pay a load of money and you enter these awards and they're just nasal gazing, and I hate. I mean, it's just, and then everyone go, oh, look, I won another award. It's like, well, no. I think there are a few very, very good awards. For us, I wanted to get the Queen's Award. It was something I really wanted to do because I needed to prove that to myself. But I don't any other awards unless they are awards like ours, and you actually get people to vote for you, and you deserve it. That's fab, and that warms the cockles of my heart. When we do the most inspiring women in cybersecurity awards at the BT Tower, which is a phenomenal place. We get a few sponsors, everyone chips in a bit, and then those women, oh my gosh, watching all of them get together, watching them come on, hearing their stories, wow, that's good awards. Those are awards that deserve. That's a really good award when then people win those awards. And then the Unsung Heroes Awards, which we've done for years, which we're not doing actually next month. We've done them for like 9 years, and we decided this year we're not going to do them because I kind of thought, well, we've done it for 9 years, and then trying to find sponsorship, really hard work. And I thought, we'll give it a break. Someone else can do something like that, it's hard work doing these things. And then really you kind of go, well, what, we've done it. Well, why have we done it? And then it takes so much time and effort. So I think sometimes having a bit of a break and kind of go, why are we actually doing it? Maybe we don't need to do it is another thing to look back and kind of, it's hard, but it's what we've decided this year.
Yeah. I was going to ask you in terms of, have there ever been points where you've thought about walking away from the industry, the work? Has there ever been those moments?
In truth, only when I've really been hurt, and they only last a little bit. Maybe I've had a few times where I've had staff, I probably can count on two fingers, that I've had two staff that have really upset me. They've done bad things, and that has been because we're a tiny organisation and we're really small, so it's like a family, right? And I set this business up from my home all that time ago. So for the first 17 years, maybe more than that, they all worked from my house. So I had to trust everybody because our kids were at home. They had to walk past my kids' bedroom to get to our loft. So there was a certain vetting process that got done at the very beginning that everyone worked for us, almost had to feel like family. And still that's carried on. So when someone really hurts you, and I've had that really bad, it's cut me to the very, because you have to almost grow a really thick skin to run your own business, right? Because people think, yeah, you know, she's a front woman, she's good, she's this, she's that, she's a hot bitch, you know, whatever it may be. And actually, I'm not. I'm a human, and I'm just trying to run a business. I'm trying to be an honest, decent person trying to run a business. And I don't think I think it's hard. You have staff, and not everybody's going to like you. And sometimes it can go really badly wrong for no reason, really. It could be, you know, a chemistry thing. Something you fall out with someone. Like I said, it's a relationship. Suddenly something can happen, and then people can turn feral. And I think I've had a couple of times like that. And as an employer, you kind of have to keep your mouth shut because you have to be the professional, you have to be the grown up, and you have to suck it in and not say what you'd really like to say. I'd like to have said a whole load of things. You know, I'd love to have said it. And after the incident, I think to myself, by God, you're lucky you didn't get a bit of that. You know, really didn't get a bit of it. But they are able to say it to me. And that's a bit unfair, really. They can open up and let rip, but I'm not allowed to let rip, and I have to be the professional. I have to be the grown up at all times. So yeah, there have been a couple of times where I've kind of come home, I have sobbed my eyes out, and I've kind of thought, why am I doing this? It's like a thankless task. Why am I doing this? And I've really been really hurt to the core, and I had to dust myself down. I've talked to my family, talked to my friends. People then put it back into perspective for you, don't they? And I've kind of thought, I can do this again.
That community.
So I think, and again, you've got to have that community around you. Yeah.
What kept you going in those moments?
I think because the highs are so high, the ups are so great, the love of what I do is so strong. I have still so much passion. I still want to achieve so much. And I have amazing clients, and I have amazing staff. So there's always going to be that little bit. It's like everybody it's like I always think 95% of people in this world are good, and there's only 5% that aren't. And if you're unlucky enough to meet those 5%, then they can tarnish the way you feel. But I think most people are very good, our clients now almost handpick us, and we handpick them. So, and I wheedle out those ones I don't like. I have a 3-month clause now where if they don't like us or we don't like them, we can call it a day, which is quite handy, really. I mean, it doesn't happen actually very often. There's been one or two that have come along.
It's powerful to have that because I think it reminds you that you don't have to just accept a situation because there's, you know, I think it's so important. And it's possibly something that is missed in our space. You co-founded the Zensory to bridge this gap between productivity and well-being. What made you want to get into that world?
Because I've seen so many people of my kids' generation really suffer. And I don't know what's changed. I mean, I do know what's changed, so I won't go there. Of course, we all know what's changed. You know, for the younger generation, it's really tough. And our generation, I don't know what we did that were we more resilient? I have no idea. Did we just suck it up and see and hide it? I don't know. Probably all of that. We're not so open and stuff. But I think in lockdown, I saw that my staff were really struggling. They were struggling with creativity, which really worried me the most. How can you be creative when you're on your own? Because creativity is something you do together, especially in our industry, brainstorming everything. So that worried me, and I was worried about their levels of everybody's. And I just watched my kids' friends. So many of them were so unhappy and so stressed. I think it's because I think Jade said to me, the age that you're most unhappy is I think 23. So, and I think it was around the age that they were about 23. They're all struggling. They're coming out of uni, or they're not in uni, or whatever they're doing. And then they come out to the big wide world, and then they're not sure that first job is right, or they can't get, it's that horrible, horrible time around that age. And 20s is a horrible age, by the way. And the 20s is a very stressful time for anybody. And so we decided, I just decided that we should look at doing something that was going to encourage people to think out the box and be creative, and try and really super focus, because, of course, being able to focus in lockdown was very, very, well, it was before lockdown I had this idea to try and help people use their senses to recalibrate. And the whole point was to get people to use their senses to be creative. And that's how the Zensory was born, really. And then my incredible daughters have just taken it on board and flown with it and done the most amazing stuff with it, and flying with it and doing amazing things. And then now they're kind of bringing the whole wellbeing side into cybersecurity, because by God, that is needed, so badly needed. And so they built an app and a whole platform now to help people super focus, and then afterwards recalibrate. So using breath work, sounds, binaural beats, nature sounds, and movement, and touch. So we've got amazing touch pads on the app, and it's really working. And so we've used the whole Zensory concept within the whole phishing space to, once people's heads are in the right space and they understand, if they're not overwhelmed and they're kind of calm, they won't fall for phishing attacks, which is a really cool concept. And we've done a load of studies on the study with Newcastle University, and we found that people were not falling for phishing attacks and stuff like that when they were actually more focused. So they're using they're using binaural beats, and they're calming down. Because, of course, that's how hackers get to you. They know what's happening. You're stressed. It's late at night, or you're kind of cooking, or you're in a taxi, or you're doing stuff. Your kids are shouting at you. You're overwhelmed. You're going to look at your phone. You're going to go, what? And then you're going to answer it, because you think you're just. And that's how the hackers work. It's the whole social psychology. The whole world is about psychology. And so we're trying to get people to kind chill their beans a bit in whichever way works for them. And it works.
You strike me, I mean, even in this podcast so far, you strike me as someone that has 1,000,001 things happening at one point, because you're so interested in so many different things, which feeds into creativity. I definitely need to ask you about pottery in a moment, but you have got these things, interior design, etc. How important is it that, in your opinion, that we have something that's outside of the data?
Oh, it's so important. And funny enough, I know, Josh, and your crib before we started was all about kind of what would your self teach you, what would you tell your 30-year-old self, etc., with questions you ask put to me. And I have always had a work-life balance, since the very word go, right? So I've never taken my work so seriously. I've always made sure that I've got everything. I've got loads of lovely things going on. I've always made sure at lunchtime, for example, I've gone out, I've done sports, I've done stuff. I've either gone swimming or played badminton years ago, or now I do go for a walk. I always do lovely things for my lunch hour. I have a lunch hour, and then I always do lovely things either before. So I swim maybe before I get going for the day, and then I always do something lovely in the evening, and then I have loads of breaks, lots of holidays. I always have travelled my whole life, and I've done it with my kids. So when I said we took a year off before I started the business, I took a year off with my daughters when they were 16 and 18. So we took a year off with them and went travelling around the world with them. And actually the business escalated in that year, which is really bizarre. I never forget it. It was probably our most successful year when Neil and I were travelling around the world together with the girls. So, and again, I've always made sure I've travelled. You ask any of our friends and everybody, we're always away, we're always moving, but I'm always taking my laptop, and I've always worked wherever we've been. And we've instilled that in our girls. They're always working wherever they are as well. And having work-life balance, making sure that, for me, it was really, really important that Neil, who was my boyfriend when I was at university, and even before I was 18, and I've been with him now 44 years, it was so important for me to have him by my side and work with him and make sure that we cherished everything and we never took life too seriously, worked too hard, that would kill our relationship. To me, being able to kind of keep a marriage and actually make sure it was okay, and I'm never saying it was rosy and it's been brilliant. It's been great. It has been a brilliant marriage, but I do think that we have our ups and downs. But that was important to me, to keep a work-life balance and to make sure that I had to prioritize my husband, even though he was my business partner, prioritize my children, because that was really important to me. So my family always came first before the business. Always, no matter what. And then my friends come first, and my other family, my parents, my sisters, my close friends. So to me, the people around me are still to this very day the most important people in my life. And my life is my clients, my life, my stuff, all of them, they're really, really important to me. But my actual longer life has been sustained by the most closest, wonderful people around me. And that's what I cherish the most. And the relationships I've made throughout those 30 years. I've made amazing friends as well. And I look after the people because they'll look after me when I need it. Hopefully I never will need them. But so I suppose if I was to think about that 30 years in business, it's all those people around me and making sure that I've had a work-life balance. And that's maybe where the Zensory is coming from. Again, making sure you don't let your work take over. And so, yes, Eskenzi has been incredibly successful, thank God, but not at the detriment of my marriage, my life, my mental health, all that business. I've still made sure my kids are still really, really close to me, and my friends are like, I haven't lost that, and I do believe that's still the most important part of my life.
I think it's thing that I think is one of the hardest, and you see it time and time again with people, starting out being self-employed. The hardest thing is to take a break, to take holiday. And I think what you said is about, the year that you took off is where the business really took off. It's almost like, well, that couldn't be me, that I couldn't do. And actually you're kind of testament that sometimes those things will work themselves out in the end. But if you're just giving everything 110%, actually that 110% is going to wane quite quickly because you're not really bringing the best you if you're exhausted. Yeah.
Yep. And I watch people, I avoid people. I've never done that. I've stopped at 5 every day. If I get to work, I've always done 9:30, 5:30, I clocked off. I mean, I look at my emails here and there, and I make double sure that everything's okay. But most of the time, no, I'm really kind of, I'm really watching. I'm watching it, and I know I'm not killing myself. I've never killed myself. I never will kill myself.
If you were to look back over that 30-year period, what is and before actually, in terms of the way, what is the thread that has always run through your journey?
In the 30-year period, the thread that's run through my journey, I think creativity. I think that's been the most important thing to me, looking at things from a different perspective, bringing something refreshing to the table. I think also the thread has got to be never take anything too seriously. Actually, I don't take anything too seriously because anything could go wrong at any point. Why take it seriously? And that, no one is ever going to make me scared or afraid. So I'm never going to be intimidated by anybody. And I think that's the thread, that there's nobody too big, no one too small, no one too scary, no one too weak or no one too strong that's ever going to intimidate me. People are people, and I take people at face value, and if I like them, I like them, and if I don't, then I don't. You know what I mean? I get on with it, and that's probably the overarching.
Is that something that you've learned during that period, or is that something that's just innate within you? Like I know I asked about what advice would you give to Yvonne, going into News International that first day. Is that something that you kind of went in with, or is that something that you've picked up along the way?
I think it's inbuilt, isn't it? I think it's inbuilt. I think it's inbuilt. I think, taking people at face value and then not letting them take the piss. Yeah, I think that's inbuilt. I think that's maybe it's just having confidence in yourself, right? That people have to take you at face value. If they like you, they like you. If they don't, they don't. And I think I took that from the very beginning, and then, this is what I've taken with me. You have to go with the flow. I think that's what I think you have to do. You have to go with the flow, and people will come your way or they won't come your way. You've got to be good at your job. And some people like you and other people won't. I think that's Josh. You'll find that when you run your business. People will either love the Josh Wheeler or they won't like the Josh Wheeler. You can't help, and don't get upset if the people don't like the Josh Wheeler. There'll be people that adore you and love you. And then there'll be other people that slap you around the face and you won't understand why the hell they've done that. But it's not worth worrying about those people.
It's so interesting. So I had an experience when I was really young in the sector, and I was asked to, and it shaped me. It was an odd one. I was asked to demonstrate a piece of tech to the team, and it was like a Zoom type thing, and we worked with them, and I had to demonstrate the product because they wanted the business the entire company to work and use that as their communications tool. Delivered it. And bear in mind, this was in 2010. And the client was very cool. They were very hip. So when you were talking to the client, you had to match the client. Okay, so I'm not cool or hip.
Oh, yeah.
But the picture that you have on those things, you demonstrate, it's not a corporate suit and tie, but it was a corporate suit and tie company.
Yeah.
I delivered the thing. This is how you set up, this is how you do it. It was, good presentation. And the comment at the end was obviously, make sure that you have a more professional picture. And I, in that moment, I felt this big because actually this was in front of the entire agency and I felt this big. Oh. But what it did, conversely, is actually it flipped me. So I now never wear a suit and tie unless I have to. I never wear a suit and tie in an environment because that isn't actually who I am.
Yeah.
And so you have to be those moments, whilst they feel, actually they help to kind of put the building blocks as to who you are. So you're absolutely right. There will be people that look at me, look at you, look at all of us and go, no, absolutely not. That's not for us. And there will be people that do. And once you realize that, it's quite freeing to be free of that worry.
So in a nutshell, I suppose it's be true to yourself. And I guess that's what I have been. And I suppose that's been the thread. And I went out there at the beginning and I'm still that same person. I've been true to myself. And exactly as you said, I'm not going to mold myself. I'm a woman of colour. I adore colour. I mean, I in this house is just one burst of colour. It is just it's just a cacophony of colour. And I suppose when I first started to do my website and I was in cybersecurity, it was very blue. Everything was blue and very, very cybersecurity, very serious, very kind of, corporate. And I couldn't do that as much as I would try to. So here I am in a cybersecurity world, in a technology world with the kind of, the techie people around me. And I couldn't do it. So if you look at our logo, and you look at our website, and our website at the moment I know it's changing. It's not so pink. It's not so bright. It's not so kind of gaudy. We toned it down a bit. Our logo's still loads of colours because I think I realised that I am who I am. I can't pretend I'm not. So as much as I try, and every time I talk to the web designers, they're always trying to go box me in. Oh no, we need loads of this white around here, and I can't. It's a bit like. I find that really, really hard to do. I mean, I can't not wear bright orange glasses or bright pink outfits or do pottery that's bright. I can't. It's me. So you either take it or you don't. And if you do come to us, you kind of go, blimey, they're a bit bright colour for them, not like us, it's jars. Then you can see already from the very beginning. Look at you with your lovely, beautiful logos and everything. People are either going to like us. People are going to like us for what we are, or they're not. So Go if you don't like us, go to those boring PR agencies that all got black and white all over the place.
Yvonne, finally,
Yeah.
what is it that makes you every day feel accidentally brilliant?
Accidentally brilliant. What makes me feel? I don't think I feel accidentally brilliant any day. Actually, I think I feel brilliant any day. I just feel what makes me feel. I think just being well, healthy, and happy. Really, I want to be well, healthy, and happy, and give back as much as I possibly can these days.
Yvonne, thank you so much.
Thank you, Josh, and good luck as well.